I didn't destroy him. I want to make that absolutely clear. I didn't go after him. I didn't hire a lawyer. I didn't scream or throw things or post anything online. All I did was tip the very first domino, and everything else. Every single thing that came crashing down after that was all him. The night I came home from Stamford Hospital after spending 11 days in the ICU for a burst appendix that nearly killed me because Marcus kept telling me it was just stress. And I should stop being dramatic. My grandfather Arthur Whitfield was sitting in his leather chair in the living room of our family home in Greenwich. And the moment I walked through that front door still holding my stomach and barely able to stand straight, he looked at me over his reading glasses and said, "Eleanor, I transferred $250,000 into that man's account so you and those children would never have to struggle. And this is your condition." I didn't answer him. I just smiled, kissed his forehead, and walked upstairs to the guest bedroom where my 2 boys were already asleep. But inside my chest there was something I had been carrying for 3.5 years. Because that $250,000 was not some gift for Marcus to play entrepreneur with. It was a structured trust contribution that my grandfather specifically allocated from the Whitfield estate so I could build long-term security for myself and for my sons James and Oliver, and Marcus had drained every last cent of it. When I married Marcus Drayford in the summer of 2019 at a small ceremony in Nantucket, he was everything you would want on paper: Georgetown law degree, junior partner track at a firm in Hartford. Charming, articulate, the kind of man who remembered your coffee order and opened doors without being asked. But what I didn't see then, and what took me 2 years to fully understand, was that Marcus didn't love me. Marcus loved access. He loved the Whitfield name, the Connecticut address. He loved sitting at my grandfather's dinner table and being treated like the son Arthur never had. And the moment that trust money hit his account in March of 2021, he changed overnight. Within 6 weeks he had pulled $80,000 and funneled it into a real estate venture in Bridgeport with a college friend named Dean Hollister who had already failed 2 businesses. Another $60,000 went into a cryptocurrency portfolio through some unregulated offshore platform he found on Twitter, and the rest, the remaining $110,000, he parceled out across personal expenses, a new BMW lease, a membership at the Greenwich Country Club, to Rolex watches, and a 6-night trip to Miami that he told me was a legal conference but was actually a vacation with Dean and 2 guys I had never heard of. When I asked where the money was going, he didn't yell. He just looked at me with that calm, condescending smile and said, "Eleanor, you wouldn't understand how investments work. This is all for us. Trust me." And the worst part is that I couldn't fight him, not then, not in that house, because Marcus had positioned himself perfectly. My grandfather adored him. My Aunt Catherine, who managed the state finances, trusted him completely. My own mother kept telling me to be grateful I had a husband who was ambitious, and the few times I tried to raise concerns I was shut down with the same line: "He's building something for your family, don't be ungrateful." I had no income of my own since I left my editing job at a publishing house in New Haven when Oliver was born. I had 2 children under 5. And every dollar I spent came through an account Marcus controlled. So fighting back meant losing everything. Not just the money, which was already gone, but custody leverage, family support, the roof over my sons' heads. So I stayed quiet, but I need you to understand something important. Staying quiet and staying passive are not the same thing. Then one afternoon in October of last year, while Marcus was at his office in Hartford and the boys were napping, I made one phone call, just one. I called my grandfather's oldest and most trusted friend, a retired estate attorney named Howard Langston, who lived in Darien, and in a completely calm voice I said, "Howard, I was going through some old paperwork and I noticed the trust allocation Grandpa Arthur set up for me and the boys back in 2021. I just wanted to check, is there a standard review process for something like that, like an annual audit or performance report?" That was it. No accusations, no tears, no drama, just one perfectly placed question from a concerned granddaughter, and I hung up and went back to folding laundry. What happened over the next 90 days was something I could not have scripted. If I tried, Howard, being the meticulous attorney he always was, mentioned my call to Arthur over their weekly lunch at the De La Mar Hotel. Not as gossip but as a professional concern, and Arthur, who had never once questioned Marcus about the money, suddenly felt a cold ripple of doubt for the first time. So he asked his personal accountant to pull the transaction records from the trust account, and when those records came back, every withdrawal was there: the Bridgeport real estate wire, the crypto transfers, the BMW lease, the Miami trip, all of it exposed in black and white. Then the dominoes started falling. Arthur called Dean Hollister directly and discovered that the Bridgeport property had been sold at a $70,000 loss 6 months earlier, and Marcus had never disclosed it. Dean, panicked that he was now exposed, immediately called his own attorney and began distancing himself from Marcus publicly. The crypto portfolio turned out to be worth less than $4,000 after the platform was flagged by the SEC. My Aunt Catherine, who had co-signed the original trust transfer, was furious because her own financial judgment was now in question. And within weeks, the people who had stood behind Marcus at every dinner party and holiday gathering, the same people who told me to be grateful, were now the ones asking, "Where did the money go, Marcus?" His reputation in Greenwich crumbled. The country club membership became a source of whispered conversations behind his back. The Hartford firm caught wind of the financial mismanagement through a mutual contact and quietly began reviewing his client accounts, and by December, Marcus Dreyford, the man who walked into my life like he owned it, couldn't get a single person in our circle to return his calls. Then one night, 3 days before Christmas, my grandfather called me into his study, closed the door, sat down heavily, and with a voice I had never heard from him before. Tired and cracked and full of something that sounded like grief, he said, "Eleanor, I thought I was protecting you. I thought he was the right man, and I failed you. I am so sorry." I didn't say a word. I just held his hand and sat with him in the silence, because I didn't need an apology. I didn't need revenge. I just needed the truth to exist outside of my own head. I needed someone other than me to finally see what I had been seeing alone for 3 years. I never confronted Marcus. I never filed a complaint. I never posted a word online. I never raised my voice. All I did was ask one honest question to the right person at the right time, and Marcus's own greed, his own lies, his own paper trail, did every single bit of the rest. I'm still in the same house, still raising James and Oliver, still rebuilding piece by piece, but for the first time in years my chest doesn't feel heavy when I wake up. Because I learned something that most people spend their whole lives never understanding. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not scream, not fight, not run, but simply place one quiet truth in front of someone who has the authority to act on it. And then step back and let gravity do what gravity always does.